Good evening. It is great to see everyone here this evening. We're thankful for your presence, thankful for the opportunity we have to study God's Word together tonight. We want to encourage everyone to grab a news and notes. Lots of helpful information in there. Several who need our prayers. We may not be able to cover all of the announcements or every detail concerning those who are requesting our prayers, so we do want to encourage you to grab a news and notes and be reading through that and being mindful of those in need of our prayers. So getting started with our prayer list, Paul Norwood will have outpatient sinus surgery this Friday. Bailey Hughes is having some procedures done on Friday as well, and then Miss Janice Vance will have cataract surgery on June 1st and June 8th. Ronald Hooper, the father of Mark Hooper, is currently under hospice care, so we want to be very mindful of Mark and his family. Cindy Zacharias, this is the daughter of Marie Clark and the sister of Andy and Barbie. She is currently under hospice care, so we want to be very mindful of the Clark family. Mary Landius was discharged from the hospital last Wednesday and is working with an occupational therapist now and is regaining more movement in her right arm, which is good news, but we want to continue to pray for progress there. And then Audrey Wilson, the mother of Chris Wilson, has been discharged from the hospital and is at home under hospice care now as well. So we want to be sure and be praying for the Wilson family. And then, of course, we want to be praying for our expecting mothers, Jamie Smith, Rachel Crowder, Allie Lanius, Rachel Harab, and Allie Herringlake. Tonight is the last night to contribute to the Sunshine Bags for Christy Wakefield and Debbie Sloan. They will be in the main lobby. The Romeo Club will have lunch on Tuesday, June 6th at Olive Garden. More details in the news and notes concerning that. And then Walter Hill is hosting the first MYM county-wide youth meeting on Tuesday, May 30th. And this will provides us all with a good opportunity to provide food for these teens who will be participating. There is a sign-up sheet on the Education Wing board right outside those doors to your left. And then we'll be feeding about 200 people that night, so we need lots of help with people bringing food. VBS is around the corner, June 4th through the 7th at 7 p.m. each night. Will be our VBS as we study God Almighty. We are encouraging people to continue to sign up for ways to help. I think we're looking for one more teacher and several more actors. So if you are interested in acting in VBS, we certainly could use your help and would love for you to sign up. Also, the scripts have been placed underneath the sign-up sheet board. So right out here you can find the scripts along with where to sign up. There is a special VBS bulletin board. If you're looking at the bulletin boards, it will be hard to miss. We're continuing Camp Joy sign-ups as well. You can sign up for camp online on the youth portion of our website. So please be sure to do that soon. Also, you can find the health form there on our website. Please be filling that out. We will have a couple of different people here on June 4th to notarize those forms. So if you could have that form filled out by June 4th, we will help you get it notarized then. If there are no other announcements that need to be made, we will turn things over to Matt.
We're going to sing Turn Your Eyes Upon Jesus. This song, actually only the chorus is in the book, so you'll need to follow along on the screen. Oh, soul, are you weary and troubled? No light in the darkness you see. There's light for a look at the Savior, and free. Turn your eyes upon Jesus, look full in his wonderful face, and the things of earth will grow strangely dim, and the light of his glory and grace, through death and to life everlasting, he passed, and we follow him there. Over us and no more hath dominion, for more than conquerors we are. Turn your eyes upon Jesus, look full in his wonderful face, and the things of earth will grow strangely dim, and the light of his glory and grace. His word shall not fail you, he promised. Believe him and all will be well. Then go to a world that is dying, his perfect salvation to tell. Turn your eyes upon Jesus, look full in his wonderful face, and the things of earth will grow strangely dim, and the light of his glory and grace. The invitation song will be the first, second, and fifth verses of number 517.
I hope that you took time Sunday morning to read the article on the front page of the bulletin written by our brother Justin. I say that because great minds think alike. I didn't give him any hints, and he didn't take any from me, but we're talking about the same thing pretty much. In the early 90s, Wanda and I and the boys lived in Georgia, lived in Carrollton, Georgia. And I was at Walmart one day. I was dressed in my usual casual attire, jeans, t-shirt, baseball cap, dark glasses, very inconspicuous. And I was standing in the cosmetics section of Walmart. And I was looking around. And this young lady came up to me. She said, "May I help you?" And I said, "Well, you can. I'm looking for a really hard nail polish. And I'm looking at for some hot pink neon, and I need some green neon." And she said, "Oh, for your wife?" "No, it's for me." And oh, okay. So we began to look, and we got out several bottles and looking at them. And I said, "Well, you know, I could paint 5 with this hot pink neon, and I could paint 5 over here with this neon green color, and I think that'll work out just fine." And I said, "Thank you for your help." She said, "You're welcome." I moved to the front. I paid for them and went home to my office. Sat down with my nail polish. Pulled my seat up, got a cup of coffee so I could make sure it got very calm and steady. And I took out the unpainted jig heads that I've used for fishing, and I carefully painted 5 with the neon green, and carefully painted 5 with the hot pink neon, and thought, you know, that ought to work. I went fishing, fantastic. They work so well. But I do remember the look on the face of that young lady who was helping me pick out nail polish. And she probably thought, well, he's strange to start with. And I'm not surprised that somebody that strange looking, and strange acting, would do something so strange. But men with nail polish, so what? Looks deceive sometimes. And that's what Justin talked about in the bulletin Sunday morning. I want to go to another example. In John chapter 9, Joshua chapter 9. I can't read and I can't see. But in Joshua chapter 9, we are introduced to the city of Gibeon. Gibeon was one of the cities of the Hivites, and Gibeon was approximately 21 miles away from Gilgal, where Joshua and the army was residing. And these guys over here in Gibeon said, we've heard about these people. We've heard about what they've done to all of our people up in Jericho and up in Ai, and they're not to be fooled with. So we need to get a plan. I love the King James. They warily came up with a plan. And that plan was, well, we're going to put old ragged sacks on our beasts of burden. We're going to take and wear old shoes that are muddied and beat up and torn up. We're going to put on old ragged looking clothes. And we're going to take bread that's been cast aside and it's turned green. You know what green bread looks like and tastes like probably. If you don't try it. And we're going to take our skins that hold all our water, and we're going to make them old, and they're going to be torn up, and we're going to go and we're going to try to pull a fast one over those people. So they did, and they went into the camp of Gilgal, and one thing that the Israelites said, well, how do we not know that you're not from close by? Oh, look at us! Look at us! We have moldy bread. We have our skins are torn up, so we can't have any water, any wine. Our clothes are falling off us. We look so destitute. And surely we've come from a long way away. So we need to make a treaty, a league. Let's make a pact. If you'll take care of me, then we'll serve you. And in verse 14 of Joshua chapter 9, the Bible says that the men took of their victuals, we say in the South, and asked not counsel at the mouth of the Lord. The brain trust of Israel got together and said, we could use these folks. We need people to do work for us. And they're not going to be any harm to us because they're from so far away. And we'll make this decision ourselves. And if you remember, at Bethel, when they made their mind up, well, we'll just go over here and send a couple of 100 guys, and we'll just, beat them just like we beat the people in Jericho, and we'll have they didn't consult God about that either. It seems that every time the Israelites decide not to consult God, it doesn't work out very well. But we can understand being fooled. I've been fooled, tricked, pranked many times in my life, and I have fooled, tricked, and pranked other people in my life. And you probably have too. But we understand that sometimes being fooled is not a good thing. If they had asked God, what do you think about this story we're hearing? Then God would say, these guys are 20 miles away, and they're not who they say they are, and you should not do this. Don't do this. But they made up their minds to do it. And when the ruse was discovered, nothing happened. Because Joshua and the brain trust said, we'll give you our promise that this is how it will work. And although they had lied and given all the false information, my word's my bargain. So, if I said you can stay here, you can stay here. No matter if you lie to me, you can stay here. And that's what happens to them. Someone said that reputation is what is seen in the light and what people think of you. Character is what you are in the dark. And that's so true. The question easily comes, am I what appears in your mind? Am I what I appear to be to you? In some cases, that might be fair and right. In some cases, maybe I've pranked you too. Are you what you appear to be? And by that specifically, I'm talking about our being what we need to be. We talked a lot about character this year, and lots been said about disciples and discipleship this year. And it all boils down to, well, what are you in the dark? You know, Paul says something very, very interesting. Says to the Galatians, do not be deceived. God is not mocked. I can trick you. I can fool every one of you. You can fool every one of us. But I can't fool God. And I am what I am in the dark. That's my character. If your character is not the standard by which you want to be known, and if your character is not what you really appear to be, if you're a Gibeonite and have simply pulled the wool over someone's eyes, but at heart you're not God's child, you're not a faithful child of God, you're not what God would have you and want you to be, and I'm not what God would have or want me to be, then we have opportunities such as this to correct those matters. We can repent, we can confess, we can pray one for another, and God will forgive us of our reputation and help us to bolster our character. You may not be a Christian. Being good, being nice, being a straight A student, being someone who is depended upon by others, that's all well and good, but that doesn't get you into heaven. Obedience and washing of the blood of Jesus Christ and faithfulness to His Word, God's grace, God's mercy, our character, those are contributing factors. If you need to respond in any way tonight, you're encouraged to do so while we stand and sing together.
Oh, do not have the wicked heart, and close thine eyes against the lie. For sinner harden not the heart, be saved, oh, tonight. Oh, not tonight. Oh, not tonight. Will thou be saved? Then why not tonight? Tomorrow's sun may never rise to bless thy long deluded sight. This is a time of then be wise, be saved, oh, tonight. Oh, not tonight. Oh, not tonight. Will thou be saved? Then why not tonight? Our blessed Lord refuses not, who would to Him their souls unite. Believe, obey, the work is done. Be saved, oh, tonight. Oh, why not tonight? tonight. Welcome, be saved, then why not tonight?
Pray with me, please. Dear Lord, we humbly come to you, Lord, just thanking you for everything we have. We thank you for the Lord's church. We thank you for your Son, Jesus, most of all, that died for us. We thank you for this congregation at Walter Hill, how much it means to everybody here, how much it means to the community. Thank you for the leadership here, Lord, the strong leadership we have that to guide us, to lead us. Thank you for the ministers, the ministry team we have with Chris and Justin and Paul, strong men who preach the word and lead the youth. Justin, who preaches to us to make us better, and Paul, his many years of service here, Lord. He has done great things here, and he still continues to do those. Lord, we just pray for our nation, help the leadership of our nation make decisions that are in line with the Word. Sometimes we don't agree with everything that goes on, but I promise everyone here this is the best nation in the whole world. Lord, just help us have the passion to evangelize. Help us to bring others to Christ. Have that passion, have the zeal that we want to talk about the Lord, that we'd rather talk about the Lord versus sports, or choir, whatever it may be. Help us have the energy and help us have the nerve to talk about you, bring others to Christ. Be with the expectant mothers here. We're so thankful that you blessed Catherine Jones. You helped her get back on track, her health. She's doing great. Thank you for that. Please bless the VBS coming up. Help us to go out and bring others here to show them the love we have and to teach others about you. Be with this summer, people traveling, be with them, all the families and the kids. Just help us all have a great summer. We love you. We thank you for everything you've done for us. Let's go in this class and learn more about you, and thank you for the teachers that give their time to give back, to teach us. Thank you again. In Christ we pray, amen.
Well, welcome to our class this evening. We're in 1 Samuel chapter 5. If you don't have a lesson sheet for lesson 5, raise your hand and we'll get one to you. Huh? Yeah, if you will. Just raise your hand and we'll get one to you. I've been coughing my head off all week, so I've got some water just. So I hopefully won't have a fit. This is a part of 1 Samuel that I really like. I don't know, I laugh at it because there's almost some humor involved in this whole story of the ark because of all the trouble it causes. And so I enjoy this part, but we got started on this. I think we covered this first verse last week, but let me go back and just review some things that are going on. As chapter 4 ended, what has happened is 34,000 Israeli soldiers have been killed in 2 battles. The Israeli army has been decimated. They have fled, they have disintegrated, they've run home. Hophni and Phinehas are dead. Eli receives the news that the Ark of the Covenant has been captured. He falls off his cart, his seat, and dies. His daughter-in-law dies giving birth to a son that she names Ichabod, no glory. And she says, the glory of God has left Israel. The glory, the kabod. I just want you to remember that little word for glory, kabod, has left Israel because the ark of God has been captured. So, with the Ark of the Covenant stolen by the Philistines out of Israeli territory, the glory of Israel has gone. God is gone. That's the mindset. That with the Ark of the Covenant, where God sat between the cherubim, he's gone. The glory has left Israel. Now that would be a pretty despairing situation. But now the story shifts to, then the Philistines took the ark of God and brought it from Ebenezer to Ashdod. To Ashdod. So going back over, I don't know, there we go. The ark has been at Shiloh. The Israeli troops have gone over to Ebenezer to attack the Philistines in Aphek. They lose 2 battles. The Philistines come over here to Ebenezer and capture the ark. And then they take it from Ebenezer down to Ashdod. Now, why they didn't take it to Ekron, don't know for sure, but the Via Maris, the big Roman road that comes through Capernaum, and some of us have seen the mile marker of the Via Maris out at Capernaum. It comes down through here, through Aphek, and down to Ashdod. So they got on the interstate highway and bring the ark down. I think that's the reason they did it, because the Via Maris was a big highway, and they bring it down to Ashdod. Now, John Willis thinks that Ashdod was the major city of the Philistines at this time. There were 5 major cities of the Philistines, and we'll talk about each one of them. 2 begin with G, 2 begin with A, and 1 begin with E. So by the time we finish, hopefully you'll remember those cities. But they've brought it down to Ashdod. Now, they take it to, and I got to go back to the other one. When the Philistines took the ark of God, they brought it into the house of Dagon and set it by Dagon. We talked about, I believe last week, that when Samson was blinded and he pulls down the temple, it was the temple of Dagon. And so, where was that? Well, it begins with a G. It was either Gaza or Gath that he pulls the, somebody help me out. Is it Gath? Was it Gath, Michelle? Are you sure? You're saying Gath? Well, it was at Gaza. I'm sorry. But the thought is maybe that when he pulled down the thing at Gaza, then maybe Ashdod became the main center. And that's possible. We don't know. But they did have a temple of Dagon, and they take the Ark of the Covenant, and they put in there, and they put it right beside their God. Now, you just think about this. Who is the bigger God? These are pagans. And to them, that's probably what they're thinking. Our God is bigger than their God because we just killed 34,000 of them and their army is no more. Our God won. And when the people of Ashdod rose early in the morning, there was Dagon fallen on its face to the earth before, and here's where Hebrew gets funny, I think. It had fallen on its face, pane. And then it's before, and it literally, before the ark is before the face of the ark. I just love that stuff about, and I'm probably the only one, but anyway, I love that. Fallen on its face to the earth before the ark of the Lord. So they took Dagon and set it in its place again. So you can imagine these people coming in the next morning, and their God is fallen on his face, bound before the ark. That ain't right. So they take it and they set it back up. Maybe there was an earthquake that night. And when they rose early the next morning, there he was, Dagon, fallen on his face to the ground before the ark of the Lord. But something else has happened this time. The head of Dagon and both the palms of his hands were broken off on the threshold. Only Dagon's torso was left of it. And there's a picture. I don't know who came up with this, but there's his head and there's the palms of his hands fallen on the threshold. Now, we don't know if it's the threshold to the door of the temple or the threshold to the door into a room that contained Dagon. It really doesn't matter, does it? But what does matter is this part. Therefore, neither the priest of Dagon, and it uses the same Hebrew word, Kohen, that Levitical priests were called. I think that, so it just tells you, these are the people who offer religious rites to their deities. And the same for the Israeli priests, Levitical priests, offered the religious service to the God of Israel. Therefore, neither the priest of Dagon nor any who come into Dagon's house tread on the threshold of Dagon in Ashdod to this day. So for how many years it was until the book of 1 Samuel was written, they would not step on that threshold. Remember when you were little and you wouldn't step on the crack of a sidewalk? Well, they wouldn't step on the threshold to Dagon. It made such an impression that that's what they did. But the hand of the Lord was heavy. Remember what I said. Remember that word for glory, kabod. It means heavy. I know it sounds kind of crazy because glory, but glory, maybe it's the weight of gold or something. It's something very valuable. But the word kabod comes from the word that means heavy. Kabod is the verb. Kabod, and then glory is kabod. But it means heavy. The hand of the Lord was heavy on the people of Ashdod. Have you ever had to put your foot down on your children? You come down hard on your children. Well, a heavy hand. God came down hard on the people of Ashdod, and he ravaged them and struck them with tumors. Ophel is the Hebrew word used there. He's going to use another word for tumors 2 times. Only 2 times it appears in the Old Testament he's going to use in this story, but it means the same thing. It means a swelling or a tumor. Now, and he ravaged them and struck them with tumors, both Ashdod and its territory. So all the territory surrounding villages that belonged to Ashdod, that city, were struck with these tumors, these swellings. Must have been pretty bad. It says he ravaged them. Well, and when the men of Ashdod saw how it was, they said, the ark of the God of Israel must not remain with us, for his hand is harsh toward us and Dagon our God. In other words, their God is stronger than our God, and we need to get rid of him. Now, here's where it gets interesting, and I'm ad-libbing this. I'm not following my notes. You can find it all in my notes. They're singing loud, aren't they? I don't know. Have anybody read a bunch of commentaries on these passages about this section? Well, let me tell you. There's 4 main maladies that have been described, and the old King James, I think, has the word hemorrhoids for tumors. Hemorrhoids. Okay, now bear with me. So from hemorrhoids, they get the word hemorrhoids. Was the malady hemorrhoids? Was it dysentery? Was it, well, I can't think of one of them. But it's in my notes. Or bubonic plague. Now, bubonic plague, the first recorded case, was not documented until the 6th century AD. But could they have had bubonic plague back then? Well, sure, they surely could have. Just didn't know what it was. Now, people don't, I know, boils. Boils was the first one. Now, remember, swellings is the most literal meaning of that word that's translated tumors. People usually don't die or panic over boils. I had boils when I was a little boy. I panicked because my parents would hold me down, take a needle and alcohol and pierce them, and that hurt. but boils were very common. But not many people died from them. Not many people die from hemorrhoids. The latest research I've found, that's not usually a fatal malady, and certainly doesn't cause panic. So those could kind of be ruled out. Dysentery, if it's accompanied by some of the diseases that have that, yeah, probably could. But the most likely cause that we're going to learn later of anything that we know, if we are supposed to know, would be bubonic plague. But we'll come back to that a little later. You're jumping ahead. Stop. Yes, it could have to do with mice because they're going to make some golden mice. He hopped ahead. Shame on you. Okay, so what are the people of Ashdod going to do? Therefore, they sent and gathered to themselves all the lords of the Philistines. And this is a very interesting word, serin. It's only used in these short passages of the 5 rulers, kings of the 5 cities of the Philistines. And it's always in the plural. And it's kind of interesting that that word is only used in this context. So it's kind of an unusual word to appear, but they were called serin. All the lords of the Philistines, and said, what shall we do with the ark of the God of Israel? So these lords that are going to keep coming up, there were 5 of them. We might call them the kings or mayors or the governors of those 5 cities or those city areas. Gaza, Gath, Ashdod, Ashkelon, and Ekron. Those are the 5 cities. So these 5 lords, when we see the word lords here, that's who it's talking about. And said, what shall we do with the ark of the God of Israel? And they answered, let the ark of the God be carried away to Gath. Do they not like their Philistine brothers? Let's just send it down and let them have all the fun. When I say this gets kind of humorous, it does. Because they're passing this bad thing that's causing them all this trouble to their own people and going to let them suffer, and they're going to find out that's what's going to happen. So they carried the ark of the God of Israel away. So it was, after they had carried it away, that the hand of the Lord was against the city with a very great, and here's another one of those words, great or large, is gadol. And we're going to see that word come up several times, so that's why I bring it out. With a very great destruction. And he struck the men of the city, both small and great. All of them got struck. And tumors, ophel, that's word for swelling or tumor, broke out on them. So the tumors have hit the men of Ashdod. Now it's gone down to Gath. Those poor people, I mean, they roll the ark in there and they start getting all these swellings and tumors. God struck them with a great destruction. Now, it doesn't say it killed a bunch yet, does it? It just said it was a great destruction. It was causing them a lot of problems. Everybody's sick. Well, here's what we'll do. We'll send it back up to Ekron. They bypassed it on the way south. We'll just send it back up north. Therefore, they sent the ark of God to Ekron. So it was, Vayahi, as the ark of God came to Ekron. The Ekronites had already heard about this. They knew this is not good. This is not good stuff. That the Ekronites cried out saying, they have brought the ark of the God of Israel to us to kill us and our people. So the Ashdod people sent it down to their brethren at Gath. People of Gath got the tumor, so they sent it up to Ekron. The Ekrons have already heard about this, the Ekronites, and they say, why are they doing this to us? Why are you doing this to us? You sent it up here to kill us. So they sent and gathered together who? All the lords of the Philistines, and said, send away the ark of the God of Israel and let it go back to its own place so that it does not kill us and our people. Now they've wised up and say, we need to get this ark out of Philistine territory. Send it back to the Israelites. We cannot compete. He's already defeated Dagon. We cannot compete with this God of Israel. So send it back to its own place so that it does not kill us and our people. For there was a deadly destruction. Now we find out it's killing people. There was a deadly destruction throughout all the city. The hand of God was what? Heavy, kabod. Again, Hebrew does some funny things with words, and there is a play on words with this kabod and kabod, and it becomes very evident. We're going to see it again. The hand of God was heavy there. And the men who did not die were stricken with the tumors. So not all of them died. So whatever plague it was, if it was bubonic plague or whatever, if they didn't die, they still had these tumors. And the cry of the city went up to heaven, and that is very interesting. So much pain and suffering going on in Ekron that the cry of the people went up to heaven. Remember when the children of Israel were in bondage in Egypt, as Exodus opens, God remembered them. He heard their cry from slavery, and he remembered. Not that he had forgotten his people, but knowing they needed help, he chose to do something for them, which he already knew he would do. But he heard their cry. He was in heaven. He heard their cry. Well, he heard the Philistines' cry. Sometimes we have this idea that God doesn't hear anybody but us good folks. I think this tells us that God hears other people. If they sincerely need help or whatever. And he realized these people are suffering. Now, he could have wiped them all out, but he didn't. He didn't. And we need to remember some of that in some of these stories, that God does have mercy and compassion on everyone. And I think this is a good example where the cry went up to heaven. And questions, comments on chapter 5? Yeah. Well, I'm sorry, you got beat out, Michelle. Oh, well, I'm sorry, Randall, you got to wait on. She's got the mic. No, go ahead. You got the mic. Go ahead, Michelle.
Why they didn't try to destroy it, melt it, do something with it, instead of passing it on, back and forth.
Why they didn't do something to the ark? Well, it's a valid question. Maybe they were afraid to. After they had seen what God did to them just for putting it beside their God, maybe they were too afraid to touch it. I mean, it's a good rhetorical question, but I couldn't answer it, yeah. Randall.
My question doesn't totally relate to chapter 5, but when the glory of the Lord departed the temple prior to the destruction of it, is the same Hebrew word used there, which may be something you don't know right offhand, but the daughter-in-law said the glory had departed Israel. When the Lord left Jerusalem prior to the destruction of the temple.
Now we're switching to New Testament times.
No. This is in Jeremiah, maybe?
Oh, the destruction of the
Before they were taken away into captivity.
captivity, 586 BC, the destruction of
Yes.
the temple. Okay. I don't know. I'd have to look. Well, we know the principle would be the same. Now, if the language is the same, I don't know, but yeah, the principle would certainly be the same. Excuse me, I apologize. Okay, you want to jump into chapter 6? We got 6 minutes. I'm sorry, Pat. We better get this one. Well, I'm coughing too much to repeat anything right now.
I don't want to make this political, but I couldn't help but just kind of think about what's going on in our country. New York City is a sanctuary city. Untold numbers of border crossers are being sent up to New York City. It's wreaking havoc with their city. The mayor now says maybe we shouldn't be a sanctuary city, and he wants to send people further north to another city. And that's what happened here. It's just interesting.
I guess you could draw that parallel. In this one, I don't know where these are of the same ethnicity, the same people. It's like if I had some plague and I sent it to you. You're my brother in Christ, but I'm going to send it to you, and then you send it to another brother in Christ. It wouldn't make sense.
There is an expression that says the man with the smile on his face is the man who found somebody else to blame, and that's a hot potato. They're just passing it around.
So when we read this account, I think it's all okay to kind of smile a little bit at the crazy humor that's going on, because it is really strange. Well, now I don't know if I hand out the lesson sheets, will you bring them back next week?
If you put the map up again, can you show the progression of how they passed the ark?
I will. Oh, no, we've already, well, let me see. I think I can do it right here. Hold on. Oh, I got to get I was already thinking the other one, but this will work. You want to see the progression? I have trouble seeing that red dot. Here's another thing that's interesting about this. We talk about the cities. Remember, the ark was at Shiloh. That's where worship was centered. When we opened this book, everything was centered in Shiloh with Eli and his sons and the temple there, or the tabernacle. But after Eli dies, Shiloh disappears. It disappears in this story. You would think that it would show up, and they used to think that the Philistines came on over and destroyed Shiloh, and they may have. The archaeological evidence says it was destroyed later, but they may have come and at least captured the territory and not destroyed it. But it's interesting that Shiloh disappeared, so it seems to indicate the Philistines came over. But they captured the ark at Ebenezer, and the Philistines had been camped out at Aphek. They take the captured ark, come down the Via Maris, the way of the sea, to Ashdod. And they get down here. Now remember, Ashkelon and Gaza are the two other Philistine cities. They come to Ashdod. Ashdod people say, we don't want it. So they send it over here to Gath. Gath gets all the timber and they say, we don't want it. Let's send it up here to Ekron. And, Not yet. And there is no Jerusalem. I know it says Jerusalem on the map, but it's still Jebus. And when we get next week, then we'll move it to Beth-Shemesh and Kiriath Jearim, and that's a real neat, I think a real neat account. It's very interesting, the further movement. But for right now, we're at Ekron, and the Ekronites are suffering great destruction. They said, get this thing out of here. Lords of the Philistines, get this thing out of here. They've sent it to kill us, and it's killing us, so get it out of here. I think that's a good place to stop. Thank you for being here tonight. I encourage you to, if you've got any research or reading you can do about this story, do it. Very interesting. Thank you.